So in 2003, I don't even know how to say it, but my life changed in a matter of a couple of seconds, right? I went from somebody who had never gotten in trouble before to getting sentenced to 144 years. Nobody lost their life. Nobody was even physically harmed. But I was lost. I didn't know the legal system. My family, they didn't know it either. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the ability to get the right type of attorney. Well, it happens every day. And that's why we're here now. We're here to tell the stories, the truths about what goes on behind those prison walls and those courtrooms, the fights that y'all don't see, that y'all don't know, things we've had to endure, things we've had to overcome, and the harsh reality of what we'll call the injustice system. Welcome to our world. Hear our stories. Hear our truths. Welcome to the voices.
Peace to the planet Earth. We are right back. We were just here at 6 p.m. with the Humanization Project, where Taj was breaking down some of the latest developments on a second look or second chance bill. And now we're right back, top of the hour, a little bit after 7 p.m. Eastern, with Kirsten Knights, again, of the 40 Strong. She was recently up here. Very informative, very knowledgeable. Somebody, I like humble people that are really smart. And that's who she is so far, to me. And salute to the 40 Strong, an organization that I look at different organizations for different things. They do so many different things, but I get certain bits and pieces from each one. They are a motivational voice, especially for me. I'm up on there posting stuff on social media, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm reading, and then I see a post, and it's in blue and white. And it's like, yo, keep going, or thank you. And I'm like, all right, let's keep going. So salute to the organization. Today, we're going to be getting into Advocacy 101, some specific strategies, speaking to some specific points on how to objectively fight for your loved one, fight for your the person that you care about that's incarcerated, how to be a voice in the proper way and be effective, and potentially getting them home, or depending on the situation, maybe making parole, or whatever the situation is. This information is good and can be utilized when you think about it anywhere. Anybody that's been impacted by the criminal justice system, pay attention. If you somebody that's stumbling across this and you're thinking to yourself, well, I've never been impacted by it. Hey, guess what? In times like these, you still might want to pay attention, because stats say that 1 out of every 2 over here people have been impacted by incarceration. So let's get into it. Advocacy 101 with Miss Kirsten Knights. Hello, hola.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. Super exciting. Thank you for all the very kind things that you said. That is very sweet. It is super exciting to be partnering with you. We've always got your back. We're always in your corner, and strength in numbers. We will always push that, and we're firm believers in that. Whilst we all kind of run our own race, we're all working together as a team at the same time. So today is Advocacy 101. Obviously, this is something that's close to my heart, because I do feel a lot of people come to us when they're at their last straw, right? We are frustrated. We've been oppressed. Our loved ones are on the phone calling us, crying, angry, getting into trouble, getting into arguments and getting nowhere. And then our people have tried, and then they come to us and they're like, look, I've tried everything I can. Can you help me? And we are not in the business of gatekeeping over here. And there are obviously strategies that we've tried, that we have implemented, and that we know work. And there's no reason for us as an organization to keep those under lock and key and keep them to ourselves. We want to empower everybody to be able to fight in the same way that we do. That's not to say that we're saying do it yourselves, you're on your own, but I think it's important for people to be able to be tasked with the tools as well to do that. So for everyone watching, if you guys have questions, obviously Chris is going to facilitate bringing those up. And if I miss anything, please just write it again and I will try and answer any questions. But you're also welcome to reach out to me after, if it's not something that you want to post on a public platform. Understand that as well. Some things are really sensitive. But I'll get into it. There's a few things that I want to touch on and a few really important little topics that I've got written down that I think are really valuable with regards to particularly staying objective. So first one, let's talk about issues and what they look like, right? So when we're talking about those that are incarcerated and our loved ones, these can range from getting meat rock every day for 11 days or getting charges that might not be warranted, all the way to our human rights being violated. Now, the key in that is understanding how big an issue is or how isolated that issue is, okay? So when we talk about things that are heavily embedded in DOC policy and procedure, emailing someone, and I'm going to name drop, emailing someone like Rose Durbin or David Robinson, they can only change so much without completely revamping a policy or a procedure. So sometimes, we might have a situation where, for example, someone got denied a tray or the food was moldy, et cetera, et cetera. We might shoot off an email to DOC. DOC are really limited in what they can do about that. When it comes to food services, when it comes to medical, when it comes to facility-based implementation, that is a bigger issue. And I'm not saying not to document those things. I'm not saying that they're a moot point. I'm saying that they are far bigger in terms of legislation and government overhaul, things like General Assembly. We push at those times to overhaul things like food, provisions, living conditions, plumbing, lighting, air, vents. All of those things are things that would be better off being collated and brought to the attention of your county delegate, the delegate in the area of the prison. We will get into that later on. Knowing those names is really important as well. On the other hand, if you're being approached by your loved one and your loved one says, I am being denied rec. Okay. I am being kept in my cell while everyone else is being brought out to pod rec. That is an individual situation, which is something that you can go to the DOC and push for an immediate change. That's not something that needs to wait for a broader decision to make moves on. That is them saying, we've got policies and procedures to say that these people deserve X amount of time at the security level that they're at, and they're not upholding that. The policies are already there. So you're just asking them to stand by it. So we can fight with the DOC about those big issues, but being realistic about how much change these people can make is really important. Energy is really important. Second one, I've been completely missing the comments, so I don't know if anything's come up.
No, I'll let you know, just so you know. Okay, I'll let you know specific question because they're rolling in. I'm just bringing them up so people can see.
All good.
For sure.
Second one, documentation. I have worked with a bunch of people and a bunch of people have seen the emails that I send to various members at the DOC, and they are thick. They are lengthy. So when I talk about documentation, I want to see what your loved one has done up until now, what date their grievances were already lodged, conversations they've had on what dates, what times, and with who, emails that you've already sent, charge numbers, policy numbers, procedure numbers. All of these things, if we go to the DOC and go, hey, we've already done A, B, C, D, E, and F, you're giving them less to argue on. right? You're giving them complete facts. You've said, my loved one has already done everything that you expect them to do to address this issue in their facility. We've got nowhere with this. They've submitted grievances. It's been silent. We know that CEOs come to them and say, hey, I'll fix this for you. You just drop that grievance for me, right? You just drop it and I'll fix it.
Yep.
Drop it, nothing gets done. Okay.
Yep.
Those conversations matter. They matter. And it might seem insignificant at the time, but an example is my loved one and I reached out to him in 2020. He just sent me an email about an issue he had, and the email was like this: Kirsten, on 2/19 at 10:03 a.m., I spoke with CO blah, blah, blah. He came to my... And I'm like, man, you're trained. I've trained you well, right?
Can I speak to that really quick? If anybody, what she's saying, it is not uncommon when you start to push grievance, informal, you push a request form, then informal complaint, then a grievance. Let me tell you something. For anybody that doesn't think those are effective, and if your loved one's incarcerated, there's a reason that 9 times out of 10, the sergeant or the CO or somebody says, hey, man, if you just pull this, pay attention. That's all I wanted to say, because they're infamous for trying to disrupt that last piece from getting dropped, if you so to say. They hate informal complaints when they transfer into that grievance, but that's it.
And if we don't have that documentation, right, and that's so valid, they get in trouble for them. They get pulled up. They get pulled into managers' offices if there's got internal grievances written against them. We might not see it. We're not privy to it because we're not at that level. But they matter. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming up to incarcerated individuals and saying, hey, man, drop that. I'm sorry. Can you just drop that? It wouldn't matter. They wouldn't care. Often what I've seen is when people will go to the DOC and go, hey, my husband said that this happened. The DOC come back and refute it and say it didn't happen. And then you're working backwards because you didn't come with all the information to begin with. So what you want to do from first step is go, here are the dates. Argue with me all you want, but here's my proof. And that is where you will get movement and traction. In saying that, it is really important that your loved one follows that internal grievance procedure first, before we go to the DOC and interject. It all supports what you're doing. It all works towards you being able to say, this isn't being dealt with appropriately in the facility. Here's what we've already tried. We are not coming to you just as our first step, Rose or Tammy or David, Chadwick, whoever you're going to. We've tried everything. And all of that documentation, it matters. Based on following on from documentation, first impressions. I speak about this a lot in regards to, you touching on objectivity and emotion, right? We don't go to the DOC often from a place of happiness. We don't. We go to the DOC when we've had enough. We're frustrated. We're angry. We're emotional. We've probably had 0 sleep. We've probably had 10 panic attacks that day. We need to remember that when we are taking it higher, this is the first time likely that this person has heard about this issue, right? They are not privy to what has happened before. Also, I know that they are a collective organization, but if you've got CO Smith that has done something to your husband and you email Rose Durbin is not CO Smith. So we need to be treating Rose Durbin with respect, first and foremost. I know that it's hard. I know that it's difficult. I know that it's difficult sometimes to go, why should I be nice to them when they're doing all these horrible things? But imagine yourself in your workplace and you're having an issue with a colleague and you want help from your manager to deal with that colleague. Are you going to go to that manager and go, hey, F you, you B, get rid of this guy? Your manager's not going to want to help you, right? They're not going to want to be like, oh, yeah, let me help you, Kirsten. How can I help?
Right.
When we're reaching out that first time and someone reads an email like that, they are not at liberty to respond to you. No one deserves to be abused in any sort of situation. That's so valued. Plus, more bees with honey. Yeah. Keep your enemies closer than your friends. Yeah, that's just the saying.
You gotta. I just want to say that, like, you do have to take the emotion out of the equation, and like I was saying in the last live stream, go into your customer service mode. You know, the same way you want somebody to talk to you, or like she said, or imagine you're working at a fast food restaurant or whatever, and they got an issue with something that happened in the back. You wouldn't want them coming up and just, berating you. And a lot of times, if you communicate it right that first time, you've got an ally that'll carry your message as opposed to kill it right there.
100%. So respect, courtesy, being civil. If in the event you're unable to, pull back emotion from these situations and these emails, get a second pair of eyes. Show someone you trust. Show an advocacy group like 40 Strong, Humanization Project, VJA, whoever. Say, hey, can you just read over this for me as an impartial and unbiased, redact the information, but just get someone else's perspective. In a similar token, the amount of times where someone has helped me, whether it's been assistant wardens at a facility or Rose Durbin or Tammy Barbetto, the amount of times they will write to me and be like, hey, this is fixed, or maybe they don't tell me that it's fixed, and I just find out from the incarcerated individual, I make it my business to email that person and thank them. I make it my business to make sure that I email them and say, look, thank you for everything that you did and how fast you've moved on this. I really appreciate you, and so does blah, blah, blah. Doing that acknowledges that I'm not just reaching out to them when I want something, and that what they've done for me is appreciated. It's keeping that and building that rapport. Often I think, we go, okay, my issue's fixed, out of sight, out of mind. They're here to serve me and that's their job, so I shouldn't thank them. It's not really their job. We're going to them with complaints, but a lot of the times they've gone out of their way to help you with this. And a thank you goes a long way. It doesn't have to be long. You don't have to kiss butt. You don't have to lick bum. You just, thanks. I appreciate you. Research. Oh, hang on. Yeah, we'll go research. Policies and procedures. Okay. Yes, let them be hostile. Yes, let them undo themselves. Stay on track, stay focused, stay goal focused, 100%. You want to be seen as the level-headed one. Absolutely. Policies and procedures. Educating yourself. A lot of the things that we see and we look at are wrong. All the way wrong. Okay. As an advocate and someone that's very, very passionate about decarceration, I believe that the entire prison system is wrong. Okay. I don't believe that it serves a purpose. But there have been many times where I've said, that doesn't sound right. That shouldn't be happening. But then I go and I read a policy and a procedure and I see that they're covered. I see that this is part of policy and procedure. And I see often us writing to the DOC and going, hey, this was done. And they will send back a copy of operating procedure 801.2.5, redaction number 1, number 2. And our entire argument at that point is gone. If you're claiming mistreatment, you have to make sure, one, that it's consistent with policy and procedure, and also be very careful about using the word legal and law. I've studied law and I've studied human rights and I've studied implementation, especially in the US, of human rights into the constitutional amendments. There are provisos and redactions on the human rights that the United States have put in their 8th Amendment that specifically say that these amendments only apply in the event that you are not incarcerated. There's a specific wording.
Valid.
They've done it on purpose. Okay. I will throw the 8th Amendment out there here and there, cruel and unusual punishment. I encourage you all to look at the International Covenant Against Cruel and Unusual Punishment, and also the standard minimum treatment, the Nelson Mandela rules with regards to prison treatment. They are guidelines. The UN human rights instruments are guidelines. They are not legally enforceable. They are not law. They only become law when an international state, so the US, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, put it into law. The US have chosen to put bits and pieces into law, but they have put little red tape around it to say, yeah, we won't treat our people with cruel and unusual punishment unless it calls for it and they're in prison and they deserve it. So be very careful with the wording that you use. There is nothing worse than walking away with your tail between your legs because the DOC has come back and said, well, actually, you're wrong. You're wrong. The policy says here that we were well within our rights of how we treated your husband, your brother, your sister, your child. You want to have all the facts. Even better, in your email, copy and paste their procedures. Show them that you've done your research. Put it there. Say, in reference to operating procedure 801.4.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
My fault. I didn't, before it slips my mind. Anybody that's watching this, ask your loved one next time you talk to them on the phone, because you'd be surprised. Ask them if they know what their IOP is and DOP. Tell them to go to the booth when they get off the phone with you and ask for the IOP, because everybody doesn't know their rights. I just wanted to interject and get it right back out the way.
Absolutely. And I was just about to bring up the IOP as well. We can access a certain level of OPs, and our loved ones can access other OPs. There is nothing wrong with asking them to request their OPs and getting them sent to us. In addition, I also encourage you to, if you want an OP that's not available to you on the Virginia DOC website, submitted a FOIA submissions. So a Freedom of Information Act submission, and they will send you what is not available on the DOC website easily. I've had a bunch of it sent to me. They do redact particular areas, but they are willing to send it. So if you work hard enough, you can get access to it. Records, that goes in place again with documentation. So I'll only touch on it really briefly. Records. If you are sending multiple emails and you are, shooting off, say, for example, you send emails to A, B, C, D, and E, set yourself a timeline as to how long you're going to wait. Stick to that time, then refer to that email when you follow up again. And if you add in more people, include that in the response. This is important because when we look at things, I want to speak specifically, and I've had some, approval from a loved one that I'm advocating at the moment with regards to this. I've been working with her and her loved one for quite a while with regards to solitary confinement and incorrect use and so on and so forth. We initially started with, 5 or 6 people that we emailed. He went through all of his grievances. We listed it to those 5 or 6 people. We gave it a couple of weeks, and then we added another 5 or 6. So now we've got 13 people in that email. But we have already documented, hey, we sent this email below on the 15th of January, and we've not received a response. Mm-hmm. Now, sending off an email and saying, I've already contacted you people 3 times and you haven't responded to me. Yeah. Not going to get answers. You're not going to get answers from there, right? You need to be really clear about, my sister has been fighting this since November, and here's what that timeline looks like. It is now February. This is unacceptable. Right. And stick to that. Final point, and I will welcome everybody's questions and any particular things. I know that there was a question in there. I don't know if you can bring it up again when you go past. It was something with regards to a specific situation. Pick your target. And pick your target is really relevant because if I think about my time, all right, let me just do this before I go pick your target. So what's your opinion when taking a client live with their story that you're advocating? Do you ask them to remove specific names of lawyers, prosecutors, etc., especially if it's in a county you work in? This was a challenge for me recently. If we're talking about, are we talking about like when we're taking it to departments when you talk about live, or broad scale to talk about it like in a platform like this? I would love to answer it for you, but I just want to be sure on what you're asking me here. So let's wait for them to write back and then I'll come back to it. So picking a target. With regards to my loved one, I know that there is a laundry list of things that are wrong, an absolute laundry list, right? There he hasn't got his property. He's just had a transfer. His TV got broken on the way. He hasn't got his money refund from the previous place where he was at because his commissary didn't come because it was commissary day the day after he got transferred.
Always.
Right. He's also got no been afforded no warm clothes. Perfect. I'll come back to that after this. Thank you for clearing that up. But then he's also involved in a civil lawsuit, and then he's also having issues with his cellie. Okay, and he's put in a request for a cell transfer that's been ignored. We are not going to be able to fix all those problems at once. We're not. And it's unfair to be shooting off email after email after email, asking and expecting people to fix everything with a magic wand. I think, and with all respect to our institutional family and friends and loved ones, they don't realize that. And I think often they'll call us and be like, oh my God, write this down. I've got this issue. I've got that issue. I've got this issue. Fix them. I'm so unhappy, right? Mm-hmm. And often the conversation has to be like, in 3 months' time, if we were to fix one of these 10 issues that you've just rattled off to me, which is the most important that is going to make the most impact for you right now? Right. That goes hand in hand with preserving your own energy, right? You can't fight and put out all these fires and expect to be able to put out these fires with as much energy as you need to give to them. Some of these fights are long. They take a lot of research, a lot of effort, a lot of hours. And if we're trying to do 10 and we get none as a result, but then we go to our loved one, okay, tell me what's a priority, and we put our energy into that number one priority and we get a result, that is better than not getting any result for the 10.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
So I know it's frustrating because there is a lot of things that are wrong. There are a lot of things that are wrong. And it's not to say that you can't say to your loved one, hey, like, do a little action plan. Okay, let's do this issue first, John. And then after that issue's sorted, let's go down to these other things that we can fix for you. You know, let them know that you're not forgetting about it. You're not saying it's not important, but one thing at a time.
Right.
That's just as important as fighting. It is picking a target. Back to the person that I'm involved with advocating for at the moment. So when we talk about documentation, so we've been able to show that we have been going through the motions. We have been going through the appropriate channels. We have done everything we've had to. We have yet to get a response on an email from anybody that we have emailed. But through talking to this person's husband, we know that COs have approached him and said, tell your wife to stop doing what she's doing. We know that his counselor has approached him and said, what you're doing is working. You may not be getting a response, but don't stop. And then he has been not put in a situation that is going to put him in more harm, which is what we're fighting for. So pay attention to what is happening, even though you might not be getting an email back.
Right.
So that communication is really important. You may be having wins without someone saying, hey, this is what we've done for you this week. We're not privy to the meetings that go on. We're not privy to the DOC emails that go through. We're not privy to, Chadwick Dotson going out and putting the wind off some people. Things are happening. They are. So make sure you're asking your loved one, hey, have you heard anything? Has anyone treated you any better this week? Before you shoot off another email and go, why haven't you answered me? It's been a week. Because they probably are doing something.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, they may not reply, but they are seeing them.
Correct. And I just want to say from I had one of those families, my mother, my wife, my stepfather, rest in peace. I had an issue. They were on the phone. And a lot of times before I even got word on something, I might be getting, whatever, my commissary pops out of nowhere or, so yeah, if you're one of those families, or I just want to back that up. If you know how to communicate and treat people with respect, people will make moves for you, for your loved one in an informal way. That's the best way I can say it, man. Because a lot of times, a lot of our issues, it really is, they haven't been identified by the right person, and they can get on the computer and do this, send an email, and it's over with. So build those. And like she said, I just want to back that one more that stuck with me. When you get a win and somebody, I call that works in your favor, advocate, whatever, make something better for your loved one. Like she said, keep that line of communication open. Send a thank you. Say, hey, I really appreciate you for taking the time out and making sure, my loved one, whatever, was taking care of y'all. And that's it. The smallest things go to the biggest way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I send a bunch of emails, and like you said, I've had that situation happen. I've sent an email off to an assistant warden with regards to a cell move. And I've said, hey, this cell move's been in for 4 weeks now, and it's an inappropriate matching. So the person that I was fighting for had 5 years left. The person he was in for completely mismatched, life sentence. Okay, so usually that's not something that they will do, because mentally, emotionally, psychologically, it's not a good fit, right? So he was like, hey, I really don't want to be in here. I emailed the assistant warden. Did I hear back from the assistant warden? No. But 5 minutes after I sent that email, that assistant warden went down, grabbed the sergeant, grabbed the lieutenant, and said, I hear you want to be moved. What's the issue? Can you show me his paperwork? This is what they said the dates were on the paperwork. Why hasn't this been processed? Now, I never heard back from the warden, but I heard back from that person that I was advocating for, and they said, thank you. I said, okay, good. Let me send off an email to the warden and say, hey, I see you. Yeah. I see you doing this for me, and I appreciate you. So they are listening. They are listening. So the question about redacting, I think it's really important to understand a comfort level with regards to anyone you're advocating for, with regards to how much they're willing to share on a broader scale, not only for privacy reasons, but also for retaliation reasons. We are very aware that when we say names of people, some people don't want to be called out for the things that they have or haven't done. Like, that's only natural, right? And especially if you're on a public platform like a podcast or something like this that is recorded and is in social media and on the internet. Nothing ever goes away on the internet, right? We don't want to be out there going, C.O. Smith from this place. And, C.O. Smith probably has social media, probably knows we're talking about him. And who knows what that will look like for those ones in there. So I think having really honest conversations with your families that you advocate for about what it could look like, and understanding their comfort levels with what they want to share. Lawyers, prosecutors, it goes for the whole 9 yards, even with regards to those you're advocating for, right? So like I just shared a couple of stories, but you guys have no idea who that is. And that's because I had that conversation before I came on here, and I said, hey, let's talk about, one, whether you're comfortable with me talking about it, and how comfortable you are with me talking about it. What can I say? What can I not say? And she also spoke with her husband about that to understand what his comfort level with that would be. So I think exercising caution with regards to the fact that we're dealing with already a very hostile situation. We're dealing with sometimes situations where there might be lawsuits in place. There might be legalities around talking about this on a public platform that could halt what we're trying to do. Being very mindful of things like slander, perpetuating false narrative on a broader platform.
Yeah.
I think you can be brief but informative, and you don't have to mention names and give pictures to do that. Some people are the opposite, right? Some people are like, put my picture up there.
Yeah.
I'm happy to take the rap. If someone wants to come and throw me in the hole because I put them on blast, I'm going to go, and all power to them. But if someone doesn't want to do that, then we respect that as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, because a lot of times we got to remember they're still in that environment, and we can't protect our loved ones if we're speaking on certain things. I always tell people, I haven't encountered it too much on my platform, but I always say the point is more important than the person. Let's try to keep names out of it. Let's just speak about the story and learn from it when we can. But I had a quick question, really quick. When it comes to the delegate piece you spoke on,
yeah,
I know that was way back in the beginning. I don't want to keep, but can you just break down again really quick how people can get in touch with their delegates, or what that looks like? Because I've learned that a lot of times people unfortunately don't even know who their delegates are.
Oh, makes me so sad. Okay, and I'm a big proponent on emailing delegates. I love them. I love getting them on board, and I love what they stand for. Obviously, policy allies as well. Particularly over at 40 Strong, we're working on some databases at the moment, but we will often post a whole list of delegates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they might be blue delegates, they might be policy affirmative delegates, right? I encourage you to save that list. I encourage you to research those people. I encourage you to look at the top 10 bills that Taj and Sean talk about and see who those patrons are. Familiarize yourself with who is in that General Assembly speaking for reform. Write them down, get their email addresses. So specifically to that solitary confinement issue that I'm dealing with at the moment, I went on the SB solitary confinement bill. I went on the House bill. I got all the patron names, and we included those senators and those delegates on that email because they're already fighting for solitary reform. We've got a real situation happening right now, so it's fresh in their mind. So I'm going to include them on that email.
Right.
Not only, obviously now is a really passionate time because we are in General Assembly, but all year. These delegates fight for their counties all year. If you go to these delegates in November, it's too late. It's too late. They've already started policy strategizing. It's too late then. They need to understand that these issues don't just happen for 4 months of the year. They happen all year round, right? If you are in an area where you might not know your delegate, or your delegate might be a Republican, right? Or you don't know whether they are policy affirmative with what you want to push, have a look at who the delegate is in the facility that your loved one is in that county. Bring them to the attention that, hey, Wise County, I think that's Wallens Ridge, don't correct me if I'm wrong, who's the delegate there? Write to that delegate and let them know what's going on in their county, right? Don't write to someone in Virginia Beach.
Right.
Someone in Virginia Beach isn't going to help with what's going up in the mountains. Let those delegates know what's going up in the mountains because their home office is in the mountains. Don't be afraid to make phone calls. Don't be afraid to drop in and make appointments. The delegate part is tricky. We have to warn our loved ones that it can make it worse before it gets better. This is what Boy Scouts office warns before they reach out. My loved one and I believe the bigger picture, and we don't care what comes with it, but we must warn loved ones and incarcerated individuals that reaching out above, especially to lawmakers, things can get bad. They can. They absolutely can. And that's why being informed is important. Having really honest conversations with your loved one about what the next steps are. If you've already reached out to the DOC and nothing has changed and your loved one is still desperate, and you say to them, my next step is to involve lawmakers, and your loved one says, I don't want to do that, then you look for other options. You email those DOC employees again. You don't go big and wide. But if your loved one is happy to involve delegates, and your loved one is happy to involve people like ACLU, if your loved one is happy for you to involve other advocacy organizations to get on board with you, then by all means. But like you were saying, the person that commented, it gets bad because delegates put the pressure on. They do. They come in hard and they come in unforgiving. I've seen the emails that delegates send, and they're not always civil. They're not always thank you and peachy keen. They will say, hey, I didn't spend 10 hours in General Assembly over 6 weeks fighting for this policy for you guys not to do what you need to do. Yeah. You know, we've got delegates in there fighting for an oversight ombudsman. That's because they know what's going on in these facilities. They know that there has to be oversight. So be aware of what the next step is in your action plan and how broad that goes. Absolutely. I am very much a big proponent of that. Don't make any decisions hastily. Be informed.
Yeah, for sure. Do a risk assessment. When you're challenging people, you do have to take into consideration what could go on. Not to paint this, but we have seen retaliation. I've seen it firsthand while I was behind the wall. I've unfortunately seen retaliation outside the wall. We have organizations in Atlanta that are dedicated to bailing you out if you get arrested during a protest, a rally, or if you're targeted by law, like, because things happen. There's documented. So not saying it to the extreme, but when you're getting the delegates involved, they're coming in because that's their jurisdiction, and they're mad. They go, why am I getting these calls? Why are you not handling it here? So just be ready. But at the same time, if you're willing to go that way and cause that impact, then, more power to you.
And that comes back to the priority list, right? Like, where is this on our priority list? And really having some really honest conversations with your loved ones. And obviously it's really hard sometimes because we think of prison as a stop in the road. For them, it is their entire life. And you'd be more versed at speaking on this, Chris, but for us on the outside that haven't done time, it is difficult to imagine a community within a community. Right. And it's not just a housing facility. It is a community. It's got its own social norms. It's got its own values. It's got its own rules. It's got its own laws. And then you've got the DOC ones. That's just talking about culture amongst the incarcerated people. Right. Then you've got the DOC that come in, and that doesn't always match. So sometimes those hard conversations need to be had with our loved ones about how big is this? In terms of your well-being, is this like we have these conversations, right? When we're going, oh, I've only got $100 in my account. I really want a new bag. Is this a want or a need? Right? Yeah. Because when we push it further, is a want worth the possibility of risk? A need may be.
Yeah.
But a want may not be.
Yeah.
So we really need to pick our mark.
Yeah, because you can hinder a greater need from getting addressed by going after a want. And I just want to say this too. I know we're getting ready to bring it to a close. It gets hard, right? Your loved one's incarcerated, and you want them to be okay, and you don't want them to be in prison. But it's important to be realistic with the fact that they are in prison. And I'm not saying that to be insensitive or cold, but it is a certain type of environment. There are certain things, the food isn't 5-star, but like she said, prioritize and identify the actual issues that need to be addressed, and then ask yourself, is the fact that my loved one doesn't have a mattress to sleep on at night more important than the fact that, $20 in commissary was missing this week, and go from there, chip away. Thank you to everybody that has hopped on and been engaging. So grateful for the support. There's always big support for the 40 Strong. Kirsten, is there anything else you wanted to touch on in regards to that? This was an awesome training. I'm going to try to download this because I think I've learned how to do that. I'm still learning technology, but I think I can download this video because this is a whole training that, we can repost and get out to people and share with people. So I'm grateful that you were able to do this up here.
My pleasure. I'm just happy that we have the platform to be able to go broad, and I can have these conversations one-on-one, but I think reaching more people, right, is our key. And if you guys go and tell 3 of your friends and so on and so forth, all I wanted to say obviously is thank you. I'm forever thankful for you giving me the opportunity to come on here and speak and share, and also learn from everybody else as well. Advocacy is a constant learning thing for me. I don't sit up here and pretend to know it all. I don't. I'm learning things every single day. But if I can impart what I've learned through my journey to everybody else, then I am helping more people than what I can do on my own alone. I just wanted to touch on, I encourage you to follow Chris at the Life Unit. Also follow us over at 40 Strong. We are looking to make databases with regards to our delegates, where they are, what counties they're in, what their policy stances are. Also templates. I've been chatting with Free around some templates, email templates, right? Like it might say, insert a policy here, put your issue here, talk about what you've already done here. Okay, so it takes away all of that stress. Like, it's already hard enough. We don't need to be typing out lengthy emails. If people have already done it before you, let's get some templates out there. Let's get some handbooks out there. And to any questions I've missed, my inbox is always open. Free's inbox, Chris's inbox, always open. Please, perfect. I can't see who wrote that, but please inbox me. I would love to chat with you about that. Please,
Allison.
Yep. Oh, Allison. Perfect.
Allison.
Yeah. And so if anyone has any questions, my inbox is always open. It's not always easy to bring these things up in a public forum. So, you don't have to go alone. And I keep battling that. We can feel so isolated all the time. And it is a difficult situation because people don't want to share charges. They don't want to share the names of their individuals. This is a really difficult situation. So often we'll pull back and we won't share. But if you pick your mark properly and you reach out to the right people, there are people that can help. Definitely.
Yeah. I'll just second that. There's safe spaces. Yeah. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you to 40 Strong. Thank you for this Advocacy 101. And to back up what she was just saying, there's definitely these safe spaces, these great groups, organizations, advocates, Freedom Fight, whatever you want, that are doing great work, and that are human and that are going through the same stuff you're going through outside of the fight. And you can lean on each other and you can go further. Like 40 Strong said, you can support each other. The goal is, I just want to keep encouraging on my platform. I know that you see the Life Unit, you see 40 Strong, you hear these different organizations, all that. The goal is we come together as one big, gigantic conglomerate, whatever it is. This is a global issue. There's issues not just in the States, not just in Virginia, not Georgia. They're all over the world. And man, if we can pull it all the way together, I feel we're pulling together now, but if we just keep going and going, keep having conversations, keep supporting each other, keep showing up to each other's events. Salute to everybody that supports my platform. I feel like I got people that are helping me run my platform that aren't even a part of the platform, but I'm grateful for that because I need the help. But just thank you to everybody that's a part of the fight. Thank you to the family members that sometimes get overlooked, the loved ones, the spouses, the significant others, all that because we're getting ready to have some conversations. I'm gonna ask my wife and have her to come back up here to do some stuff about relationship stuff and all that. But just anybody that's feeling like they're overlooked, exhausted, we're here with you. We're not going anywhere. Reach out to us, connect. That's it. I'm gonna stop rambling. I got an early start tomorrow. Thank you, Kirsten. I don't even know what time is it over there. I forgot to ask.
11:52 a.m.
That's right. 7 is 11. 7 is 11. All right, y'all. Till next time, man. Yep. And we will be back we'll be back Monday at 7 p.m. And that's it. If you'd like to be a part of the platform, reach out. And that's all I got. Till next time.
Take care. Bye, guys.